Are you new to homeschool and really wanting to get that inside scoop? Or maybe you're not new and wondering, what tips don't you know about? Well, this is the collaboration for you. If you're new here, I'm Rian, a Christ-following wife and a homeschool mom to 3 boys. Here we talk all things homeschool, and we will learn together how to use our roles as wife, mom, teacher, and homemaker in order to glorify God. Some things you just learn by trial and error and experience, right? And homeschool's no different. So here are the 5 insider secrets that I have learned about homeschooling, specifically about how to simplify your homeschool. This is a collaboration hosted by Rachel over at 7 and All. She's a super sweet and dear friend of mine living overseas, and she comes from a homeschool family, and she is currently homeschooling her little boys, plus helping homeschool a couple of her siblings. And she is a genius. She's a wealth of knowledge, so go check her out. And be sure to check out the playlist down below. And I'll also link Rachel's channel down there where you can see all of the secrets that you might not know. The first thing that you need to know about simplifying your homeschool is that audio books are books. If you don't know this yet, you're missing out. Now, it took me a while to actually be like, no, that counts. And what really pushed me over into believing that audiobooks counted, as silly as it sounds, was our library summer reading program. On there, it specifically stated that audiobooks counted toward your points to earn your prizes for our library reading program. And so I thought, well, if the library says that that counts, then it counts. Now, obviously, there is just something different about holding and smelling a book and turning the pages. And my husband calls me a bibliophile. I don't know why. But there's something about reading the words in front of you. However, there are times when that's just not possible. There are times when you're taking a 2-hour car ride that you need something to listen to. Obviously, for your younger readers, it's very important to actually develop the skill of reading. I am not saying since there's audiobooks, there's no need to read, obviously. But what I am saying is that don't be afraid to put in an audiobook. My kids listen to audiobooks every night before they go to bed. My friend Katie introduced me to that idea and I love it. I get a lot of reading done because of audiobooks that I wouldn't otherwise have time for. As much as I would rather be sitting around just reading books all the time, I have a house to maintain. I have a husband and kids to serve, so it doesn't really happen that I can just sit down and read. So I listen on my AirPods, and it counts. It counts. Audiobooks count. And why is that simplifying? Because it's reducing clutter. You don't have to gather up every single book. And it also is a lot easier to just press play. My kids think that because it's coming from a speaker that it's somehow like almost like screen time. It's kind of weird, but it really does simplify things. The second thing that I want to share with you is that you can just use a notebook. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there's a lot of things that tell you you need this little pretty worksheet and this little pretty thing that you're going to cut out and you're going to laminate and you're going to use wet and dry erase markers on and blah, 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 blah. If you do that, kudos to you. I wish I could. But one thing I learned fairly quickly, really after my second one joined us in school, was that doesn't really matter all the time. Really looking pretty is not a prerequisite for a good curriculum. So I love all things beautiful too. However, it's okay to buy a 50-cent notebook from Walmart. Let your kiddo pick out their color. That's like my kid's favorite thing to do. I don't know why. Right now they are very in like just a very boy stage. We have one who gets everything red, one everything blue, one everything green. I'm just like, okay. So let them get their favorite color notebook. If you're extra, let them get the fancy notebook with like stuff on the front, the glitter and the race cars and whatever else. A pencil and a notebook goes a long way. All of last year, instead of doing an actual handwriting curriculum, I would copy down their memory verses in a notebook and they would copy them. That was our handwriting. Then we would turn the next page, they would write spelling across the top, and they would take their spelling test in that same notebook. I would call out the words, they would write them. And then we'd turn the page and write vocab on the next page, and they would open their vocab test booklet, which has little bubbles that you can fill in, but I wanted to reuse that for the next kiddo, and so instead of doing that, they just wrote the letter in the notebook. There were times that I would give them story prompts. They would turn the page, write writing on the top of it, and they would write a little paragraph. Like, a notebook can go a long way. It saves space because you don't have all the individual little fancy doodads and books and worksheets and everything, but it also saves you money, which I'm all about simplifying the finances, right? Along those same lines, which I kind of hinted at with the vocabulary stuff, is number 3, buy used and reuse. Now, if you've been around here long, you know that I like my second-hand curriculum. So I get as much used as I can. Every year when I go curriculum shopping, that's the first thing I do. I write down everything I need, and then I hit up our used curriculum store here local. I know not everyone has those, but look around. You might have one. This one was hiding in plain sight. I didn't know about it for the longest time, and I'm really glad I found out about it. Sometimes even just used bookstores. So we have another one that is just a Christian used bookstore. They have curriculum in there too. I've even found, we have a thrift store here that's someone local, I don't know who it is, but keeps donating all of their read alouds and all of their story of the world and stuff like that. Like, I can tell they have to be a homeschool mom or maybe private school, I don't know, but there is a lot of books off of our book list for Sunlight that end up there. And so we buy as much used as possible. Of course, and there's also Book Outlet. There is thrift books. There's second sale. There's Aid books. There's so many different things. And then if all else fails, go to the library. So there are lots of different ways to buy used. And then also, like I said, reuse. So with things like Story of the World, you do not have to buy separate sheets for each child. They say in there, as long as you're using it within one family, that you can make copies. And so I keep my Story of the World together on the years that we use Story in the World. We're not right now, but I'm assuming we'll go back to it at some point. I keep the actual activity book unmarked. There's nothing in it. And then I just tear out the pages, because they're perforated, that I know that we need to use. And I make a copy for each kid, and then I save the original. And so I have little folders full of the originals, and I don't have to buy that activity book again next time we cycle through that history cycle. So again, this saves space and it helps you with your clutter, and it also saves money. Now, if you are one that the idea of tearing pages out and making the copies and doing all the things stresses you out, guess what? It's also okay to buy new and not reuse. It is okay. There's sometimes on certain curriculums where I'm like, I just don't have that in me this year. And doing that, cutting out and copying into a notebook or whatever, that is not simplifying for me. That's going to take too much brain space. I would rather just spend the extra money and have it done for me. There's nothing wrong with that either. All I'm saying in this is look for used. If you can't, obviously buy new. But the whole reuse thing, if it stresses you out to try to reuse stuff, then don't. But it is an option. Number 4, this helped me a lot when I realized this, especially in Missouri, where I'm from, where you have to log hours. Life skills is a subject. So teaching your kids life skills is, number 1, important. You don't want to raise kids who go out on their own and don't know how to wash and dry and fold and put away a load of laundry. You don't want to raise kids who don't know how to run the dishwasher. You probably don't want to raise boys who can't check their own oil or fix a flat tire. You probably don't want to raise girls who don't know how to change a diaper. Now, I know, gender stereotypes, don't hate me, but I'm just saying those are important things that kids need to learn, and they're only going to learn if someone shows them. And so, number 1, they're important. Your future in-laws, your daughters-in-law and sons-in-law will thank you. But also, it helps you teach a kid to unload a dishwasher, and guess what? You don't have to unload the dishwasher as much. Teach a kid how to put clothes away, and you don't have to put clothes away as much. Like, it's pretty obvious to me. But it also trains them, like I said, and it builds character. Like, teaching them how to work is good for their character. And we can do all the character studies in the world, and character studies are amazing and good when we talk about responsibility, especially if we're coming from a biblical standpoint about how God wants us to be good stewards and about how God wants us to treat other people and all of these things. But the best way you can teach them that is with hands-on, teaching them how to serve others, teaching them how to be responsible for their actions, responsible for their own things, cleaning up after themselves. So this is a very good character builder. And so this counts as homeschool too. Now, if your 15-year-old is still counting brushing their teeth as doing school, okay, no. But new things that they're learning is still learning, even if it's not from a book. And my fifth secret to staying simple in your homeschool is sometimes you gotta buy the expensive thing. So I've shared a lot of tips on saving money because saving money is simplifying things. However, Ticonderoga pencils are the best. Some people don't care about the thing. A lot of people do. Crayola crayons are the best. Crazy art, Rhodes art, whatever those are called, throw them out. Because guess what? You might save a few cents, but the quality is just not there. So to simplify your homeschool, know when it's worth spending the extra money and when it's not. So sometimes buying the curriculum that is a box curriculum and everything's done for you and right there, it might be pricier, but if it makes it easier for your brain to know, okay, here's exactly everything we need. Here's a book telling me exactly when to use all of these different things and how to do it. If that helps you, do it. There is no sense in making homeschool more complicated than it has to be. I think that is part of the reason people get scared off. They think of homeschooling, they think, okay, we have to have this perfect setup. We have to have a homeschool room, which is a lie. I didn't have one until this year. We haven't even used it yet. I don't even know if we will use it, to be honest. We have to have the maps on the wall, and we have to have the tables, and we have to have the chairs, and we have to whatever else. And then it's like, oh, and we have to do everything pretty too. We have to laminate, and we have to have the markers, and we have to... No, you don't. Or some people are thinking, I have to spend all the money and get all the books and have all the things, and then there's the clutter, and then I'm broke, and then no, you can buy used, you can save money, you can get audiobooks, you can do online stuff, you can do teaching textbooks. That saves you time, that saves you space, that saves you mental energy. You can do those things. Homeschool only has to be as hard as you make it. So homeschooling is definitely a journey. Whether you're a veteran or whether this is your first year, you will still continue to learn tips and tricks along the way. Some of them are going to be very unique to you and your situation, and no one else is going to be able to use them whatsoever. Some of them are going to be fairly common, and you'll be able to share your knowledge, and we can spur each other on to the good work of homeschooling. So don't forget to check out the playlist and Rachel's channel down below. Please subscribe if you haven't. And in the comments, let me know, what secret do you know about homeschool that might help me or anyone else reading the comments. And my next video is going to be a collaboration with a super, super sweet lady that I cannot wait to collaborate with. And it's going to be all about what I wish I knew before I started homeschooling. You don't want to miss it, so I will see you next time. Bye.